See, he's had an interesting career, and I'm fortunate to be working with him. He and I,
great guy.
He and I first crossed paths. I mean, Bruno back here, he and I went to go see the first IWS show I ever attended live, and we saw PCO, Pierre Ouellet, wrestle.
That's amazing. Man.
Actually, it wasn't the first time I saw him because I saw him with the Quebecers back at the Forum at the first show I went to live. I saw him against the Steiner brothers on 2 occasions at the Forum, and it's funny because Jacques always got all the attention in the team because Jacques was the more flamboyant. Jacques was the talker, and he already had a career before that as the Mountie. Jacques, who also trained me, by the way.
And before that, he was teaming with Ray, his brother.
Teaming with Ray also, and even going further back than that, his family was a wrestling family. Jacques was second generation. His uncle and his father were also wrestlers, and his brothers as well. So, he had a lot of things in his favor. That's where we talk about that. You can maybe call it nepotism or whatever you want to say. But Jacques had a lot of the attention on him. But what I always noticed was that PCO was the one who did all the work. He was the one coming off the top with the cannonball. He was the one doing, the actual stuff that I like to watch.
He was the steak, and Jacques was the sizzle.
Exactly.
He's a big boy too. And was he as big?
He was when I first saw him. He was over 300 pounds. I would say.
So going off the top rope at 300 pounds back then is like, whoa, what's going on here? Like you don't see that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a Mandela effect or anything, but I swear I remember him doing a moonsault or like an acai moonsault, second row to the outside at a house show I went to. They were against the Godwins, and I remember him doing this moonsault to the outside. It was the most spectacular thing I had ever seen. Like, that a guy that big was able to do that, which is crazy because now, and he's like in his 50s, he's still doing moonsaults.
Really? Wow.
It's insane. But what I appreciate about him is that I feel he and I, there's a lot of similarities there because he took a roundabout path after he left WWE. He decided to humble himself and come back to the independent scene, which Jacques never did. And he worked with guys who were the next generation, the Kevin Owens and so on. Yes. And he always kept up with the times. So he saw, okay, wrestling has evolved. Now guys are doing these types of matches, doing these kinds of things. So he evolved himself to do that.
Smart move.
And like I said to Bruno, I remembered when we went to go watch IWS, and a big draw for us was that he was going to be there. We remembered him from the Quebecers, and then we got there, we saw him perform. I didn't really start with IWS until later on, and he and I didn't cross paths too much, even though he had also kind of worked with Jacques, but he was on the way out while I was on the way in. Same thing with Kevin Owens. People think that because we were both trained by Jacques, we were both there and we trained together. Yeah. It's not true. There's only 2 weeks of overlap when Kevin was there and I was there. I saw Kevin on his way out. He's a guy I saw literally 2 weeks there, and that's it. I'm more cross paths with Kevin afterwards. But with PCO, he made a comeback back in... let me get the year right on that. I think back in 2015.
This is in Ring of Honor, right?
No, before Ring of Honor.
Before Ring of Honor.
He came back to IWS, and they put us in a tag team match together. It was 2015 or 2016. And we were in a tag team for one show. And that's where, we got to talk a bit more. We did that match. And then we ended up getting booked to face each other for the first time. Maybe about a year or two later.
You've never faced him before?
Up to that point, no.
Wow.
We'd never really crossed paths. They were just two different orbits.
That's amazing.
It's just a little side story here. In wrestling, people think that in wrestling we're all friends. We all know each other. So I'll meet people in my day-to-day life and be like, oh, you're a wrestler. Oh, I'm friends with this guy from like Rimouski who's a wrestler. I'm like, yeah, I don't know him. Or like,
do you know Dangerous Bob from Shawinigan?
Yeah, it's like, oh, this guy who he shines my shoes or cleans my floors or whatever. He's a wrestler too, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, we did a show together a couple of years ago in wherever. And this, so it's like there are people in wrestling that I see when I was wrestling maybe every week. There's people I see once a month. There's people I see once a year.
Yeah,
and I have my circle of people that I talk with on a regular basis and all that. But other than that, I mean, we're not all friends in wrestling. We don't all know each other. We're coworkers. So that's the funny thing there. So me and PCO, we were in different orbits. We maybe wrestled for different companies. Promoters didn't want to pair us up on shows, that kind of thing. But then when we finally got put in the ring together, that's when we really, got to talking. And I always had tremendous respect for him and what he's done.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
the fact that at over 50 years old, he was able to go and win the Ring of Honor championship.
It was big. It was big.
Which it wasn't that long ago. I mean, he
it was
won
a couple
it
years ago.